And so the second half felt like I've got to make sure all the lads are on the pitch to make sure, and that then is disjointed against a team that's angry about losing the league, and that's only going to like dial it down, isn't it? You know, so you've got all the stuff in the crowd. We've already won it. Like Liverpool have got 1 point in the last 2 games, but if their win bonuses and that title had been on the line, they'd have clearly more points than that. And I think you've got to accept it, but then not like it as well.
Yeah,
and it'd be wrong for us to get angry or to be the narrative of this show, for example. The narrative of this show is we all turned up today at Anfield. The crowd was fantastic. In the first half, the team were brilliant. It went off a bit because it wasn't quite what we need. You know, not much quite on the line. But Liverpool showed, the crowd showed, and the team showed what it can do, what it's all about, and it does fizzle out when you've already won it.
But also, I think one thing you can take from that game is they're the second best team in the league. First half we marmalised them, and that's a sign for next year. Yeah, they might strengthen. Guess what? So might Liverpool. This fella's a fucking genius, by the way, and he might look at the weaknesses in the squad if he sees weaknesses, you know, and go, right, we can need this, and this. Well, Liverpool made it then first half, and as you say, if that was a game with anything on the line, they're not getting near that.
We'd won by 2 goals today if we had to.
Even if it goes 2-1,
yeah,
and it's a proper game, we made it in them second half, and we sort of don't because it's insane. But yeah, I'd take a lot of positives from that today, a lot of positives. How are you? Great.
I haven't listened to a word of that, I'm sure it's gold. I'm over here singing the Chiesa song.
Lunatic.
The first half was one of the greatest parties I've had in Anfield, and you know, you build, your whole life builds up to the moment that Liverpool win the league, and you never think about the bit after it, the celebrating it, the enjoyment of being champions, the singing champions.
And you've done a grand job of it yourself there, Craig. You have. Yeah.
Like, the first half was incredible. It was such a party. It was just, you know, it was everything that I'd never thought about. But then suddenly I'm like, my God, this is what it means to be champions. This is what it feels like. Look, I'm not going to say it was as good as Spurs, because nothing will ever be as good as Spurs to me. That was a life's work, that. But today was incredible for the first 45, and I'm going to include the 15 after that. And by 15, I don't mean the second half, I mean the half time. I don't know what it was like where you were, but half time in the cup on the threes, the 304, 306.
It was like the maddest, hottest nightclub you've ever been to.
It was unbelievable. The Chiesa song was going off, and it's going to be one of the great tragedies. That one, really, that, you know, he probably leaves in July or August, and you know, we only get to sing it once or twice, and it gets an errand on the cop in the second half because it's a belter. But I had so much fun for that 60 minutes. Second half's weird, isn't it? And you know, Trent coming on is, look, they score an early goal, and that's one of the points. But I think Trent coming on just puts a little bit of a pin in the balloon, really. And it's not because of him; it's because he's there. It's circumstances. People wanting to boo. It's people not wanting to boo. It's people like me, neither, just sort of stood there feeling weird about the fact that I've just been to the best party I ever had, second best party I've ever had, and then I'm stood here and it's weird. It left me walking on the ground, and I'm like, I want the first 60 minutes of that day at Palace, and we'll get it at the end. I want that at the start again, but it sort of makes me feel like I don't want Trent on the pitch again, because look, honest thought, as a manager who works for this fella, but him coming on just takes the sting out of all the fun and all the enjoyment. Almost when Van Dijk scores at the end, whoever it is scores at the end, it goes off for 5 seconds, and I had you round my neck. I was ready to have your trousers on my head like you did 2 weeks ago. And if we don't get that moment, but it was a very, very strange second half.
I think the Trent thing, I think Slot is a very logical fella, isn't he? So in his head today, the logical thing to do was give Bradley minutes. Play Bradley. You know, Trent's leaving, he's not to do it Liverpool no more effectively. He's made that choice. It's his right to. You know, he chose that. So he puts him on the bench, and logically it was the correct substitution. You know, Bradley's legs are going, he's tired, he doesn't want to get him injured.
Very fair this, Ben. I agree with you.
So it's logical for him to come on. That said, he doesn't he understand the level of insanity still quite,
which is equally fair.
of the people in Liverpool. And so when he brings him on, he's probably like, yeah, I've made a mistake here, because Taint's really not wrong in the game. He plays quite well. He conducts himself quite well. And it's probably the most sensible decision. It's probably the right decision. Well, it's not. It's the right logical decision. I think going forward, the right logical decisions now just don't involve him.
Well, I think today, obviously Bradley having been injured last week, I think if Bradley's starting today and he brings on Endo at right back or Curtis Jones at right back, that's a bit of a statement, isn't it, really? That's a statement to say, based on what's happened over the past 2 weeks or the news that's come out, that means that we're not going to bring Trent on. I think he's brought him on today. If Bradley plays Brighton, I think you can bring Trent on. He might get booed, but it's not the same as being in Anfield. I think the day that we're going to lift the trophy, surely by that stage, Bradley's able to play 90, and then we don't have to deal with this, because I don't want anything to taint this. Like, these should be the best 3 weeks of our lives. I've seen that in the first 45 and then the 15 at half time. It was the greatest party that isn't the one that wins the league.